Welcome into the Extra Point presented by Corner Pub in Brentwood, right here, 710 Old Hickory Boulevard for Nashville's best meat and threes, craft beers, and more. The neighborhood meets at the corner. Zach, I've got a bone to pick with Tennessee and its football program again. All right, the Vols just spent $40,000 on 2 rings for their players, coaches, and support staff. I have no problem with getting a ring for winning the Music City Bowl. I get that. In today's world, you get a ring for winning a bowl game. I do have a big-time problem for handing out championship rings for the battle at Bristol, beating Virginia Tech in Bristol Motor Speedway the second week of the season. It is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion.
Well, in a world where kids get participation awards, you can't be surprised. But see, I don't necessarily think it's for the Battle at Bristol championship. I think it's more like maybe a future heirloom. It's a commemorative item to say that that particular player played in the world's biggest college football game ever to be played until somebody else breaks the record.
I agree with that. I'm fine with getting some type of memorabilia for the game to players, like it's a plaque or those little glass things that stand up on a
Yeah, but
little...
you can choose. Sometimes
I
you
know,
get
but
watches,
here's the
sometimes
thing.
you get rings.
What are rings for? The rings are for championships. They're not for a championship of a week 2 matchup against Virginia Tech. I mean, really, I'm going soft on them by letting them have a championship of the Music City Bowl over Nebraska. But the rings are for championships, for winning your conference or national championship, not for a week 2 game. So get something else. Don't get a ring because they're championship rings. You get a ring for the Super Bowl. You get a ring for the World Series, for the Stanley Cup. You get a ring for the NBA Finals. You don't get a ring for the battle at Bristol. It's stupid. You're diminishing the importance of winning an actual championship.
Okay, but championship and Tennessee has been tied very closely over the last year because of what Butch Jones said about the champion of life.
Yeah.
Right? We're all champions of life in a part of his program. So I think that has been embraced. He doesn't think it's a joke.
He doesn't.
Everybody else may think it's a joke, but he doesn't. And I think that it makes more sense on why they get rings for the Battle at Bristol and the Music City Bowl and all these other deals that you get rings for is because they've embraced the championship, maybe not pedigree, but the championship term.
At the University of Tennessee, there should only be 2 things your football team gets rings for. Winning the SEC championship, not just the East, but the whole thing in Atlanta, and a national championship. That is the only thing rings should be handed out for.
Possible bowl victory? Will you throw in another one?
I'm going to go easy on that because I understand today's
What about
world.
making the roster at the beginning of the fall? Do you get a ring for that?
Yeah. They're going to start handing out rings for all academic SEC here in a little bit. And that's today's Extra Point presented by Corner Pub in Brentwood on A to Z Sports Nashville.com.